What's your thought process here? Like, has this changed your worldview?
Completely. These results, this analysis, and the whole story from 2017 to right now made me change my mind, open my mind, open my brain, open the way I used to think, because I'm doing something that it is real. So the Ministry of Culture of Peru used another bodies, different bodies, not related with the original bodies. We are in front of, by the minimum, in front of new species.
Okay, before I jump into the usual introduction to today's guest, I wanted to say a few things. Now, when the congressional hearing happened over in Mexico and the mummies were wheeled out for everyone to see, it felt really cringy and embarrassing. And I remember Ryan Graves was embarrassed and he put some media out afterwards to say, he wasn't expecting that. And I remember thinking at the time, this is all ridiculous. This is detracting from the progress that we've made in the UFO community to push things forward. And so I pushed this aside. I didn't take any notice of it and I just forgot about it. And then things started to happen. I made connections with different people and they had a different take on it. And they said, well, maybe you should look at the science because it could be that people have put some stuff out there to muddy the waters. And so we decided to look into it. So we interviewed Jaime Musson, and now we interviewed a new person who has completely flipped my own opinion of this subject. And I'll implore you to watch the video to the very end and take on board what he says, and then perhaps do your own research, because this is something special. This is potentially one of the most important interviews that we've ever conducted, genuinely. And I never thought I'd hear myself say that. So the following is a conversation with Dr. José de Jesús Zalce Benítez. He has a degree in medicine and surgery, extensive forensic pathology, extensive experience in forensic institutions. He's been involved in high-profile forensic investigations and is an expert in forensic medicine and pathology. Not only that, but he provides his expert analysis and testimony in forensic cases. He is highly qualified, and you'd be hard-pressed to find someone more qualified to analyse these Peruvian mummies. In this interview, I'm joined by my co-hosts Aztlan and Tom, and in parts of the interview, the doctor speaks in English, and in other parts, there's small sections where he speaks in Spanish, which is translated by Aztlan. So without further ado, the following is a conversation with Dr. José de Jesús Zalce Benítez. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time and talking to us today. I'd just like to know, if it's okay, how did you first get involved in this project, and have you been involved in anything similar in the past?
Well, this is my first time. I never been involved in something like this before. And I get involved in 2017 when Mr. Jaime Maussan called me and asked me if I be able and capable to analyze some bodies, because I have a forensic science formation background, and he asked me if I could be able to analyze these bodies. And I say, yeah, okay, I can go with you to Peru in 2017, April 2017. And that was I get involved in this issue. When we arrived to Peru, in Lima, we get in contact with the Incari Institute. And they, Thierry Jamin, show us some separate pieces like hands and small dolls and skulls. And I analyzed something in this, and I was very skeptical because I don't think that pieces that he showed us was real. So I told Jaime Maussan, I think this is fake. Please, let's go. When I say that, Thierry Jamin said, no, wait, that was a proof. Now I show the real bodies. So Thierry Jamin showed us two bodies, those that we put the names Josefina and Albert. He showed us these bodies, and I get very surprised. But I still be skeptical about these bodies, so I made an X-rays. Thierry Jamin showed us some images in X-rays from these bodies, and I say, okay, but I need to do new ones because you can make this before, so I don't believe. So we went to the hospital, and we went to the X-ray examination area, and we take more examples, so more images, and I start analyze the junction of the joints, the union between one bone and the second bone. I'm start to analyze these joints, and I realized that it was something real. But the big issues become when we saw the belly of Josefina, and we saw in the belly 3 eggs. So I was shocking in that moment, and I request we need to make CT scans because we need to see we need to see if this structure are organic or they were made by something else. So the next day we made the CT scans, and the surprise was bigger because I analyzed the images, and I saw that everything in this body, it could be real. So I said I need time for analyze the whole body, the whole CT scans from the whole body, from the two bodies, and they say okay, we take the images, and you be check these images, and that's what I get involved in the small bodies from the 60 centimeters. These two bodies, Albert and Josefina. Then the next day we went another place in Ica. Ica is a place between Palpa and Nazca. So we went to Ica, and in that city, in that town, they took us to a small house. In this small house, they showed us the whole body of Maria. Maria is the big mummy, the big body, 1.68 meters of height, the statue. Okay, so when I saw Maria, I also be skeptical of this, and I said the same. I need to make X-rays, and I need to make CT scans. But at the first, Maria is pretty similar to the human body, so I start to take measures from the whole bodies, the whole bones, to take anthropometry. Yeah, I hope I said it well. I start to make anthropometry from the body of Maria, and that was the beginning. More or less, that was the beginning in the analysis of this one. But at that time in 2017, we take samples, we take X-rays, we take CT scans. We come back to Mexico, and we took the samples to the laboratory to make carbon-14 and to make DNA. At the same time, the doctor Konstantin Korotkov from Russia take samples and took the samples to the Technological Institute of St. Petersburg and made the same studies and analysis, carbon-14, DNA, and he also analyzed the X-rays and the CT scans. And we made the analysis at the same time, but separate. And then we share the results, compare the results, and the surprise was that we think exactly the same from the small bodies and from Maria. It was organic, it was real, and it was a whole body who once a point on a time was alive. That's the resume of the story.
Obviously, everybody saw the congressional hearing, right, in Mexico, and like myself, the whole world, I'm guessing, was pretty shocked, right? Some of the claims that were made when you were presenting, tridactyl, like non-human bodies. Obviously, the media twisted in itself and say that you guys were claiming there were aliens, this, and that, but that was obviously very, very different. Yeah, I started reading a bunch of different articles. They all say different things. But what I remember is that I was very interested in who were the scientists, right, that were supporting like the claims that were being made in the congressional hearing, and you were obviously the number one scientist that was showcased. And so I remember that I saw a podcast. I'm not sure if you remember a podcast with what's his name? I think he does like a paranormal podcast, and you spend like almost 2 hours like really explaining like in depth like the anatomical reasons of like why you believe they were real. But you also mentioned that they first showed you some bodies that upon examining with your years of knowledge, you could tell that there were like artifacts that were assembled, right? And then afterwards, because you saw that they were artifacts, you just lost interest in the project. But then they unveiled these other ones who you also thought they were just artifacts, and then you start examining them well, and then you realize that there's more to these bodies, right? So to me, that really intrigued my interest.
Okay. What you say is completely real. At the first time I saw this small, I don't know, handmade artifacts that the whole bones are twisted and there are no harmony in the body. Then Thierry Yamin showed us the real bodies, Josefina and Albert, and they were totally different because the first one, these dolls, these artifacts, the size is around 20 or 30 centimeters. But the real bodies, Josefina and Albert, they are bigger. They are 60, 62 centimeters of the size. They are different. And the harmony in these two bodies, the harmony is very, very nice. And when we take the X-rays, we can see that the small dolls, the artifacts, are handmade, and the bones are totally dysfunctional. But in the body of Josefina and the body in Albert, the bones are completely harmony. The joints are functional, and the body shows some biomechanical degradation when they was alive. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
so
of course.
What you say is it's real.
And I believe a lot of people are also confused because like both of the specimens were found together, right? Like the living specimens that used to be alive, and then these dolls that accompany some of these bodies. So that's where a lot of the confusion comes through.
Two things here. The first one is that how do you say that? I always say that these bodies are specimens. Okay, we never say that they are aliens. Okay, we only say that they are specimens. The specimens that we need to know where they come and where they go. Okay, that's the first one. But the second thing here is that you are all right that these dolls and these bodies were found not exactly in the same place, but they were found in the same area. You have to remember that the person who find these bodies, the huaquero, I don't know how is the translation.
The tomb raiders. Yeah, tomb
yes,
raiders.
In the whole area, they found separate places. So the dolls were found really near where the bodies were found, but they weren't found in the same place. Okay.
Hence, a lot of the confusion from the articles, because a lot of supposedly these bodies are being claimed or proven to be fake.
Everybody thinks that they were found in the same place and they were found together, but it's fake. The dolls were found in other place, the bodies found in other place in the same area, but they were separated. Okay.
Do you think that some of the misunderstandings or some of the misreporting, do you think it's intentional, or do you think that there's something that's perhaps lost in translation? What are your thoughts?
Well, I will try to be political correct. So
Diplomatic,
I will think that it's a misunderstanding for the translation. Okay.
Okay. I think we can take from your smile that might not be entirely true, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just?
Oh, sorry, Jimmy. You fire away.
So I was just going to ask, when you were first kind of introduced to this subject and Jaime contacted you to see if you could look at these specimens, what was your thought? I mean, did you have a conversation perhaps with family, think this is an unusual subject to get involved in? Should I get involved in it? Or were you excited? What was your thought process when you were first kind of offered the opportunity to look at them?
Well, great question, because at the first time when I received the first call of Jaime Maussan, Mr. Jaime Maussan, I was thinking it was a joke, because I didn't realize that some people, public person like Jaime Maussan, well, take care who I am and ask me for help him. So I was thinking it was a joke. But when we get to, we arranged to see each other, and I realized that he was real, I was very exciting to prove that bodies were fake. My first intention, my first project was to show the whole world, starting from Jaime Maussan, that this was fake, completely fake.
I've never heard that from you. That's like an exclusive? Have you ever said this before to someone else?
No, this is the first time I am telling this. So my first intention was to prove that it is a fake. But what was my shocking and my mind blow when I saw these bodies by myself, physical, in person, in Peru. When I say, okay, these small dolls, artifacts, it's completely fake, and I say, okay, I'm go back to Mexico. But when Thierry Jamin showed us these two bodies, Josefina and Albert, and I started to get deeper in the analysis, and I started to get deeper with the X-rays and CT scans, and I started to analyze by millimetrical size of each bone, of each ensemble and each joint, and I saw many things that I was in shock completely and say, this is real. The thing that convinced me by 100% was when we take the CT scan of Josefina, trying to look in this 3X in the belly, we found that in the left side of Josefina, in the belly of Josefina, we saw an egg that the size was less than 1 millimeter, okay? Less of 1 millimeter. So when we analyze this picture and we make amplification of this area, we can see the oviduct. The oviduct is the area when the eggs grow up, growing in the belly to get bigger inside the body. So when I start to see this kind of a structure, this kind of anatomy, I completely say, okay, I was wrong. This is real, and this is one body, biological body, that I need to study more and deeper. That's for me was shocking, because changed completely my way, my mind way. Okay.
For me, it's shocking to hear you say this, because like, you're not just any forensic person. You're one of the authorities in Mexico. I mean, I think you're like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're the director of the Health Institute of the Mexican Navy. So
well, yeah,
Jaime knew who to get.
I used to be the head, the chief or the boss, the head director of the whole forensic system of the Mexican Navy. Okay, I used to work for the Ministry of Health of the Mexican Navy. So in my experience, I was working in the Navy as a forensic for 15 years, almost 20, when Jaime Maussan called me. At this time, I had 20 years working as a forensic scientist in the Navy. And yes, I used to be one of the leaders or head directors of the forensic in this area. Yes.
And it says here that I'm sorry, you had some obviously anthropology, forensics, comparative anatomy, and you specialize in studies of mummies, mummified bodies.
Yes, in my whole career, in my whole working day, I study anthropology, compare anatomy, forensic odontology, forensic DNA or forensic genetics, okay, and also had another line of studies, because my background is really related with the Navy's issues. So I'm studying aerospace medicine. I study hyperbaric medicine. So I have a very diverse background, because I have the formation from the Mexican Navy, and I have the whole formation in the forensic science, criminology, criminalistics, fingerprints, and the whole area of the forensic science. Okay.
Doctor, about their preservation. One thing that probably hasn't been discussed much is that they are covered in diatomaceous earth, which is antibacterial. It's a desiccant. So that seems like they've been prepared. They've been preserved. in order to last. Can you tell us about that? That wouldn't happen naturally, would it? That would have to be an artificial process.
At this time, I am allowed to say the following things. The preservation. You have the actual preservation that it's known. So the whole body is in degradations. So that at this moment, that's a topic because we need to preserve these bodies for more studies, okay? But you are asking me about the ancient preservation of this body. We take samples from the skin, and we determine that in the skin, they have put in the whole skin like a oil made by chloruro de cadmio. Chloruro de cadmio. I don't know how
cadmium,
to
chlorine.
Chloruro de cadmio in oil that cover all of the body. Over this chloruro de cadmio oil, they put the diatomaceous soil. Okay, so you have two things to preserve and conserve these bodies, because the diatomaceous soil, it's anti-fungus, antibacteria, and anti
degradation.
No, the small animals, insects that eats the body.
Yeah,
I don't know.
anti-parasite and antibacterial. Yeah.
And
So
for
the viewers at home, it kind of works like when you buy electronics and it has silica packets in there to keep it dry and clean. It works the same way.
So the whole body gets dehydrated because the diatomaceous soil takes the water out of the body. So the body was dehydrated and also was protected for fungus, for bacteria, and for insects. That permits that the whole body conserves perfectly and preserves perfectly the whole body. Also, the inside organs are preserved. Okay.
Perfect.
Recently, the last year, 2023, I went to Peru to check out new bodies. For example, Montserrat. I have the chance to make an endoscopy in Montserrat. When I get in Montserrat, in endoscopy on Montserrat, I can I be able to see the whole colon, and it's completely well preserved. So we need to get more analysis from this body in Montserrat. That was one of the newest bodies they found.
Am I right in thinking that Montserrat has a fetus inside? So
yes,
you have Josefina with eggs and Montserrat with a fetus. That's like two different reproductive.
It's something incredible, because in the small bodies of this one of 60 centimeters, okay, we have Josefina with eggs. We have Clara. We have many bodies. Montserrat, excuse me, Josefina, Albert, Clara, Mauricio, and we have 3 body cells that we call the family. So we have plenty of these bodies of 60 centimeters that has eggs inside. But in the other hand, we have big bodies like Maria, Sebastian, Santiago, and Montserrat. But the surprise was when we analyzed the X-rays and the CT scans of Montserrat, we saw in the belly one specimen like a fetus. So when we went to Peru last year to saw this by person physically with Montserrat, I don't know I miss the word corroborar. Corroboramos.
Corroborate.
Okay. Corroborate that Montserrat has a fetus like 16 centimeters size of this fetus in his belly. So I'm trying to find this fetus doing an endoscopy, because we can find this fetus by X-rays, yes. We can find this fetus in CT scans, yes. We can find the fetus in 3D reconstruction of this CT scan, yes. But I'm trying to find this fetus doing an endoscopy, and guess what? I found the pieces of the small bones of this fetus in the belly of Montserrat. So that's incredible, because you are talking right now that we have Maria as a mature specimen. You have Santiago as a young man, like 12, 14 years, more or less. Then you have Sebastian, who is smaller. We are thinking around the size of 10 years old, 10 years old of the specimen. And you have Montserrat that give us the opportunity to study a fetus. So you can study a complete evolution of one specimen, new specimen of something new. Okay, I hope I can explain what I'm trying to say
of course.
to you. It's something that we have to realize, and we have to get deeper in this analysis, because we have the whole evolution with different size and different etapas of this, the etapas de desarrollo, etapas de desarrollo.
Different phases of development.
That's it. Thank you.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like, it would make sense, because like if you had the same type of body like again and again and again, it could kind of look like it was manufactured in that way. But you can't deny something that is like, when you have a diversity of species and also like development of, you know, of organisms, that's incredible.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're aware of in history that could be a conventional explanation, a human or animal that could, I mean, because people listening to this and that have been following what happened in Mexico and some of the information that's been coming out from Jaime Muson, it's difficult to follow, because you have to have some knowledge of science and the data. And I think it's quite difficult for people who haven't got knowledge of science and how to read data to interpret the information correctly. So in a sort of a simple way, if that's possible, are you aware of any explanation for the most compelling bodies that you mentioned, the Josefina, Albert, that could have is there a way that they could be conventional that you can think of, as in any form of human that's put together or animal that's put together? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, but I think that's the whole meaning of this. So if you make me the chance to answer in Spanish for this, because I think this is very, very important thing. Okay?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Creo y estoy seguro que estamos viendo,
and I'm sure that
dos especies distintas. Una especie son los cuerpos de 60 centímetros y otra especie son los cuerpos grandes de más de 1 metro de estatura. Dos especies distintas.
So something that I am for sure that that I'm certain of is that we are looking at two completely different species. The one that is 16 centimeters and the one that is almost human size, that is 1.8 meters, right?
Lo relevante es que de estas dos especies no tenemos un precedente, un antecedente, y tampoco tenemos un descendiente, no tenemos una evolución de ninguna de las dos.
So what we also know for a fact of seeing these two species is that both species, at least in the human knowledge, we have no knowledge of the descendants, and we have no knowledge of who are the ancestors.
Por lo tanto, estamos con dos especies que están en una etapa estancada de su evolución terrestre.
And because of this, we are looking at two species that are frozen in their evolutionary process, meaning that we have no clue what has happened before and we have no clue what happens after.
Por lo tanto, el hallazgo de estas dos especies es algo único para la biología y la evolución de todas las especies en el planeta. Es algo único que no hemos visto antes y tenemos que analizar.
So the unique thing about this finding is that, biologically speaking, it is the only specimens that of which we have no information, meaning that we can relate every other living species with us and I'm guessing the DNA, but this species has no. ¿Cuál fue lo último que usted dijo?
Que no tenemos cómo compararlo.
We have no way of comparing it in the evolutionary process.
Árbol de evolución de las especies, correcto. Ahora, el segundo punto que quiero señalar aquí, que es muy importante. El segundo punto es que tomando muestra de estos cuerpos, ambas especies coinciden en que son tridáctilas.
Okay, so taking these two species, we have been able to at least confirm that one, they're tridactyls, son tridáctilos.
Y la evolución tridáctila nos lleva hacia la línea de los reptiles y las aves.
And the only evolutionary scale that we have that links tridactyls are only reptilians and birds.
Pero su estructura anatómica de todo el esqueleto nos habla de una estructura que va hacia los primates.
Okay, but their biological structure, their actual corporate skeletal structure is guiding itself towards primates. Like that is the evolutionary way it's heading.
Por lo tanto, no hay una coincidencia con la evolución que nosotros tenemos hasta ahorita.
¿Cómo qué quiere decir?
Por lo tanto, viendo que hay evolución hacia las aves, los reptiles, por ser tridáctilos, pero tienen un esqueleto muy similar a los primates, por lo tanto, no hay una relación directa con nosotros.
Okay, because their evolutionary traits have shown that they're obviously reptilian and bird makeup, but their corporate structure is heading in the way of primates. There is no direct correlation between them and us.
Y por último viene el ADN. El ADN, del 100% del ADN, que se comparó con 1 millón de especies conocidas, no tuvo empalme con ninguna. Es decir, es completamente diferente, su ADN es completamente diferente a la comparación de 1 millón de especies. ¿Ok?
So the DNA that has been done so far has been compared to over 1 million living species on this planet, and it has found no correlation whatsoever.
Y su ADN, el 100% del ADN, lo vamos a dividir en dos. 70% de ADN que tiene rastros de dos chimpancés, del monobo y del chimpancé, monobo y chimpancé.
So far, 70% of their DNA does have some correlation with only two chimps on this planet, bonobos and chimpanzees.
Y además aparece una correlación con la evolución del hombre en Filipinas.
Wow. So there seems to be there has been found a link between this and the Filipinas body, right? ¿Qué se encontró en las Filipinas?
El ADN más humano o el más aproximado a un humano que se encontró es al ADN de la evolución del hombre en el sur de Asia, en el área de Filipinas.
Okay, so I guess in the south of Philippines.
Pero no es un match perfecto, es algo relacionado, se acerca, pero no es match correcto, perfecto.
So in South Asia, in the Philippines, I guess there was a finding of a Homo something, and this species that we're looking at right now, it has a very minor correlation only with that species and nothing else so far.
Ese es el 70% del ADN, pero el otro 30% de ADN, el 30% que falta, no tiene comparación en la Tierra. No hay forma de compararlo en la Tierra. Por lo tanto, no pertenece a la evolución biológica de las especies en la Tierra.
So the last 30% of DNA has absolutely no correlation with any living species on this planet. Therefore, there's a probability that it doesn't come from this planet.
Por lo tanto, y en comparación, si un hombre, un humano y cualquier primate, tenemos 98% de similitud. 98% de similitud.
If you get any human and any primate, you're going to see a 98% correlation. Okay.
Si tú analizas un humano y una bacteria, un humano y una bacteria, hay aproximadamente un 88% de correlación.
If you get a human and you get a bacteria, simple bacteria, there's a correlation of at least 88% in the DNA.
Si en estos cuerpos solo hay un 70% de correlación, están más separados de una relación con nosotros, están más separados que una bacteria.
Meaning that these species, because their correlation of chimpanzees, like it's only 70%, then that means that these species are even much, much farther away than a bacteria would be to us.
Esto nos hace pensar entonces que o estamos en el análisis de dos nuevas especies o estamos en el análisis de algo que no corresponde a la evolución natural de las especies.
So either we're in front of two new species that we just had no information about, or we're in front of something that is that does not sorry, I'm getting nervous. Something that has no correlation whatsoever to this planet.
Thank you so much. That's for me. This is the huge thing, the most important thing of we need to think, because we are talking about something completely new and something completely unknown from the actual science in the biological evolution of the species in the earth. Okay?
That's incredible.
So how certain are you that there was not a mistake on this DNA? And has there been any other studies that have corroborated the DNA samples?
Okay. We take several samples of DNA from several parts of the body. We take samples from Maria, from the skull, from the hand, from the hips, okay, and from the femur. And all these samples, we take 3 different laboratories. We send these samples with Dr. Konstantin Korotkov to Russia, St. Petersburg Institute. We send these samples to Canada, Sen4Gen Laboratory. Sen4Gen Laboratory, we send these samples to Canada, and we analyze these samples here in Mexico, in 2 laboratories. One is the National University Laboratory.
UNAM.
And UNAM, yes. And the second one, it's a private laboratory. What the name was, Abraxas. Abraxas was the name of the private laboratory. So we have samples, we take samples, send sample for 4 different laboratories. When we get the results, the whole results were similar, pretty the same. So we take the analysis from Sen4Gen from Canada, because that analysis was the most complete of the whole studies. We take that and we get up in the system from the biotechnology library of US. We get the result of this analysis. We put these results in the biotechnology library of US, and that's the DNA that everybody can study and see in the internet, you know?
So it can be studied right now.
Yeah.
Wow. You've got this information, you do this assessment, you send the samples off, you get extremely similar results back. What's your thought process here? Like, has this changed your worldview?
Completely. These results, this analysis, and the whole story from 2017 to right now made me change my mind, open my mind, open my brain, open the way I used to think, because I'm doing something that it is real, but I need the whole scientist community in the world get involved to say if I was right or I was wrong. If I was wrong, okay, I'm a crazy man and that's it. But if I'm right in what I'm saying, if I am right in everything I put for the whole scientist community, well, we are in front of something that by sure it will change the whole history of the human beings.
Since you've had that data out there on the internet, have you had any other scientists come back and say, look, I've assessed this and I have a different opinion, or I've analyzed it and come to a different conclusion? Or have the other scientists that have analyzed the data, are they in agreement with your conclusions?
Okay, that's a good question. We have an open invitation to anyone who wants. It doesn't matter if it is a scientific or not, but we have an open invitation to anyone to want to come and to a study that we have. Those who was come with us 100% confirm that this is real, but some one of these persons doesn't want to make publish his own opinion because they are afraid from his job, his family, or his society community. So many of those that comes and prove that this is real, some of those doesn't want to tell the world that this is real, and they are in backyards, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the whole community that deny this, and the whole community that say this is a fake, the whole community and scientifics that say that this is crazy and this is not real, everybody, the 100% of this person only stay back his table, back his computer. No one of these people come to the University of Ica to see these bodies. No one of them come and take their own samples and take it over. They want to do the analysis. No one of they make real studies to make his statements positions.
Yeah.
I hope I can
I understand.
explain what's my point here.
Perfectly. Like most of the articles that I've read, that refute or downplay this discovery, continue to post that one scientist from the Ministry of Culture of Peru, where he shows they confiscated some dolls from some tomb raider, and it's obvious that they're dolls. And they did a whole press conference saying that these were the specimens and they were showing how fake they were. And every single article that I'm reading are pretty much pointing to this doctor, or I mean the scientist, and those dolls, saying that it has been refuted. And Jaime Maussan and his team are charlatans.
Okay, that's a great point. Let me explain something. We have in the Ica University the real bodies, the bodies that we analyze and the bodies that we take samples to make studies, okay? So if someone want get some opinion, he must to be from the same bodies, okay? Not from another bodies. They need to analyze the same bodies that we analyze, because we have to start from the same body to make different analysis to have results that we can publish whatever they say, okay? So the Ministry of Culture of Peru used another bodies, different bodies, not related with the original bodies. First mistake. But the second mistake they made, and there are public documents about this. When they show to the public, their results, they didn't have done any studies. They didn't done DNA. They didn't done X-rays. They didn't do anything. They only show and broke these dolls, broke, and they say, "Oh, it's completely fake. Everybody, this is fake." So that's manipulation, bad manipulation of the Ministry of Culture. But when we get deeper, make questions to the Ministry of Culture, we ask that from these bodies, take samples and made DNA, and they send these samples to the anthropology community in Peru. The anthropology community in Peru declaim, they say, we don't have enough support to do this analysis, and we send the same samples to the forensic department of the health ministry, okay? So they send the samples to the forensic department from the health ministry, and the forensic, the head, the chief of the forensic department of the health ministry say, okay, this is something that we can't analyze because we don't have the technology to take the results and make a statement from these samples, okay? So what is the problem here? The second mistake is that the authority or forensic and the authority in anthropology and the authority of Ministry of Culture say that they were not able to make analysis from these samples. So see, if they weren't able to make analysis, why they made a statement, public statement, saying that this was a fake? So it's a contradiction from their selves, okay?
I think something I really, I hope you don't mind me keep doing this, but the more details that I've found out about these, that's where it's so interesting. And I think most people that have heard about these haven't heard about the really important details. So one of them is, I know that a platypus is a mammal that can lay eggs, but one of the bodies has a furcular, which is like a bird, an avian breastbone, and the tridactyl is like a theropod, you know, the dinosaur evolution that turned into avian. So is there anywhere that we can, do they sort of, are they related to anything in one way, like mammals or reptiles or avian? That's three totally different
Species.
That's
evolutions.
the amazing thing of these bodies, because the small bodies, the 60 centimeters bodies, were related to reptiles and they were related to birds. The big one are more related as a human evolution, but it doesn't match in the human evolution. Also, you can see the fingerprints. In the human evolution, the whole primates has waves in the fingerprints. But Maria, for example, or Montserrat, for example, has lines, parallel lines that we only see in some reptiles like I don't know the name in English. I will say it in Spanish.
What?
Lagartijas, las lagartijas.
Lizards. The lizards.
Some kind of lizards has parallel fingerprints, but the lizards doesn't have relation with the primates, not or less with humans. So it's amazing. We have relation with reptiles by tridactyls. We have related with birds for the bones, and we have relation with human evolution for the size, or for they had school, arms, legs. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to understand, but that's why I'm saying we are in front of something new that we have to study deeper and deeper, because We are only in the beginning. We are only in the surface of the whole of all of this.
So there's basically there's two more things that I think is really important that I really want to talk about, and it hasn't all got to be at once. But so one thing was that the age when they were dated, some showed to be 6,000 years old, some showed to be 1,500. Is that true? Because that implies that this species or this culture lasted generations and generations.
Okay. In the small bodies like Josefina, Albert, Mau, y Clara, the carbon-14 show us around 800 to 1,000 years. Okay? But in Maria, the carbon-14 show us 1,500 to 1,800 years. Okay? So it's a huge difference. In the middle of the whole discussion of this, the whole people get the idea that they were 1,000 years, but that's the whole idea of the public. If you see each one of these bodies, they had a parameter very close between one of these similar bodies. Okay.
As like a continuation, o cómo?
No, lo que quiero decir aquí es que la diferencia de años que hay, porque hay algunos que tienen 700 años de antigüedad y hay otros que tienen 1,800 años de antigüedad. Es mucha la diferencia.
Right.
Okay.
There's a huge difference, yeah.
Entonces, lo que quiero decir es que en los cuerpos chicos, en los de 60 centímetros, el promedio es de 800 a 1,200 años.
So the small bodies are approximately between 800 and 1,200 years.
Y los cuerpos grandes están en promedio entre los 1,500 y los 1,800 años de antigüedad.
Okay, the big ones are between 1,500 and 1,800.
Por lo tanto, en el común denominador, todo mundo dice que tienen más de 1,000 años de antigüedad, pero cada cuerpo tiene su propia data que coincide con los que está relacionado.
Right.
Los de 70 centímetros con los grandes coinciden.
So they're averaging, right, that each body is over 1,000 years old, but each body has its own unique time frame based on its own unique carbon dating. Okay.
Pero todos coinciden entre ellos, es decir, no están separados, hay coincidencia.
So okay. So so they're not separate, they're all there's a continuation. There's a pattern. Okay.
It's amazing to think that we coexisted at that time, and because in the geoglyphs there's tridactyl art, and it's amazing to think of at some point we may have existed at the same time. Now I know I'm kind of hijacking the discussion a little bit, but there's one more aspect that I think is really important for everybody to understand, which is the osmium. So they seem to have been, they display a technology, or at least from the implants they contain osmium, and for the people listening, it takes is it 10,000 tons of platinum ore to refine into just 30 grams of osmium. So it's not something that we can do. It's impossibly expensive now. So would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Well, everything you say is correct, but I'm gonna add something else. We also find argentum, silver.
Okay.
But we found argentum in 95% of purity. 95% of
What?
purity.
Wow.
So
No.
we don't find this purity in the nature, okay? Or if you want to get this kind of purity of silver, of argentum, you need to have high technology to purify the metals, okay? So in some implants, we found 95% of purity of argentum silver. That's something that I want to add to the comment because it's completely out of this, the how they get these metals and how they made these implants. And also the implants, there were fusion to the skin. The metal and the skin, they were fusioned. So if you put whatever metal you want in your body, you have a reaction. You must to have a reaction, okay? But in these bodies, these implants, they are fusioned to the skin and they are biofunctional. So they were not shown us some reaction of this mixture from the metal in the skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a question, Dr. Zalce. When obviously when you study forensics and you're able to see the decomposition of a body, or you're able to see when there's like a mark, una cicatriz, right? When there's like a
Yeah.
So you're saying that these implements do not show any sign of like of cuts or any indentation. It wasn't imposed. You're saying that it was encrusted?
Yes, they were not one by side.
Positions.
They were fusionate in the skin. Okay.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that's
Who had the technology 1,500 years ago to do something like that?
This
Well,
is what
that's
I'm
it.
thinking, yeah.
I'm trying so hard not to use my imagination or speculate, but somehow they were preserved in a very scientifically advanced way to preserve them for this long, and they're incorporating technology and materials which are far beyond our ability to recreate now with a huge budget. So I find it fascinating to not speculate, but just understand as much as possible about what's gone into finding these specimens.
Everything you say, by right now, it will be very difficult to replicate, and it will be needed a high technology and a high procedures to replicate right now at this time. So the question is, how they made this 1,000 years ago? It's something incredible. So that's another proof that this is real, and this is something that we need to study. This is something that we must to take for real and get some people, the biggest mind in the world, that please take a look of this, please.
Yeah. I think that's the message here, isn't it? That from what we've heard, this is incredible, and it needs to. We need mass adoption in science to come on board and say, okay, there's some incredible claims being made. There appears to be a hell of a lot of data and science behind it. Get involved, because this could be absolutely huge. And it's I struggle to understand why. Look, I'm really conscious of your time, Dr. Zalce, and I really appreciate you talking to us and breaking everything down. Is it just Aztlan and Tom? Is there any other questions, sort of burning questions? Because I appreciate we've taken a lot of the doctor's time.
I'd like to add just two quick questions. One of them is, Dr. Zalce, what is something that you want to let the world know? What's something that the public should know?
Okay. I want to know the world to know three things. First one, I really sure this is real. This is something that was a point in a time was alive and was biological and walked between us, and they are in communication and relation with the human in that time. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is I put all my knowledge and I put all my backgrounds and I put all I have to study this. So if this possibly a fake, I'm so crazy to do this. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is, if I put my whole being in this, is because I'm sure this is real. I'm not a liar person. I'm a scientific, forensic scientific. So I'm telling you the truth, but I need help. I need help to do more. I need help to get deeper in the studies, in the analysis, and get more results. And the third thing, the whole humanity that closed the mind, closed their minds, and be how do you say ciegos? Blind. And want to be blind, okay, it's okay. But if you want to analyze this issue, if you want to get something from these tridactyl bodies, you need to have an open mind, an open vision. The science and the scientifics must to be open for new knowledge, because if they are open for new knowledge, they maybe understand what we are in front of. We are in front of, by the minimum, in front of new species. But if you open your mind, we are in front of something that could change the way we think, the way we think about ourselves, and the way we had the conception of the human being. Okay, we are in front of something that will change many things, the paradigm things. Okay.
And my last question is, how can we facilitate the research that you guys have been doing, the research that your teams have been doing? How can we communicate that to the public? Because what are the resources that we can look to for a database?
Okay, the whole analysis, the whole database, and whatever you want to know, it's free. The only thing you need to do is get in contact with the ICA University, get in contact with the people who is studying this, like Konstantin Korotkov in Russia, or Jaime Maussan in Mexico, or also by myself, Dr. José Zalce. But there are plenty in USA. In USA, you have the Dr. McDowell, Joshua McDowell, and Dr. McDowell. Go with him. He went to Peru. He saw the bodies by himself. So there are many people that we are open. So if you want to know, please, only ask, please.
Because I want to create like a website or something so we can consolidate all the different research. There's just people have to go out of
It will be a great idea. Get a website. It's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because people are they're finding the truth from like this article, they're searching this, they're searching that. But if we can have a central place so that all of the different teams can communicate their findings, I think it would just make it much more easier.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
There is one person who has everything. The name is Martina Chirica.
Okay, that's my guy.
This guy, Martin Achirica, wrote a book, open file. He has the whole story and he has the whole documents and he has everything you want to know.
Dr. Zalce, I must say, we need people like you who are prepared to deal with controversial subjects that some people think are crazy. Because if we don't have people like you, we never evolve as a species. You know, we never fully understand the meaning of life, the meaning of the universe. We'll never get to that unless we're prepared to look in uncomfortable places. So, you know, massive respect to you for the work that you're doing. Really appreciate it. And please continue on, and hopefully we'll get to speak again in the future, and hopefully we'll be a bit further forward with other people, you know, mainstream science, I guess, coming on board. Fingers crossed.
I'm glad to hear you, and please, my best regards to you to taking the time to ask me. Thank you so much. And you can count with me whenever you want.
It was very kind.
It was a great honor.
Absolute pleasure.
Honor, Dr. Zalce. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Take care.
Yeah.